ice, crystals, Igbo, Mkpụrụ Colorado, crack, alcohol, tramadol. Choose your demons. No matter the name you choose to call them, is causing serious harm in the society today. No matter the highs and the lows one may encounter when taking these substances, cannot compensate for the damage this can do to an individual or a group of individuals in the society. You might have heard this severally, that drugs will eventually kill the user or users when it's abused. The use of illegal drugs or the use of prescription or over-the-counter drugs for purposes other than those for which they were meant to be used, or in excessive amounts. Drug abuse may lead to social, physical, emotional, and job-related problems. Many drugs can alter a person's thinking and judgment and can lead to health risks, including addiction, drug driving, infectious diseases, and adverse effects on pregnancy. Some depend on drugs addiction for emotional support, Dutch courage, perpetrate violence, sometimes to increase sexual drive. Drug abuse is rampant in the youths of the society today. Due to overdependence on drugs, families have been broken, job lost, loss of lives, kidnapping, rape. All manner of vices are one way or another linked to drug abuse. Here are some drugs that are abused in the society today. Alcohol. Cannabis, commonly known as Igbo, marijuana, weed and pot, amongst other names. Benzodiazepine, cocaine, heroin, also known as diacetylmorphine and diamorphine, among other names. Many Igbo communities are currently facing the dangerous effect of methamphetamine, nicknamed by the youths as Mkpụrụ, which translates to seed of water. Mkpụrụ is a crystal narcotic hallucinogen that is capable of destroying a person mentally. Colorado, or Colos, comprises of marijuana, roofies, mkpụrụ, methamphetamine, molly, ecstasy, downer, barbiturates, cocaine, tramadol, pentazocine, etc. All the drugs with serious negative effect that can lead to addiction and death includes fentanyl, GHB, hallucinogens, inhalants, ketamine, kath, kratom, LSD acid, MDMA, ecstasy, molly, mescaline, poet, methamphetamine, crystal, meth, ped, psilocybin, magic mushroom or shrooms, rofinol, salvia, steroids, synthetic cannabinoids, synthetic cathinones, bath salt, flakka, tobacco, nicotine, and vaping, etc. Effect of drug abuse varies, but at the end, the user of these substances are worst hit economically, socially, interpersonal relationship, family relation, jobs. Every aspect of the life of a user is affected.
Drug abuse is a very serious issue in our community at the level of the family, the level of the community, even at the national level and even global level. Today we see more and more youth engaged in drug abuse. There are so many consequences of drug abuse. We see high numbers of youth dropping out of schools. Not of the community, there's high crime among our youths. The nation, there's low productivity among the workforce. And we know the backbone of any economy depends on the workforce of that economy. And when the menace of drug abuse is something that everybody should be concerned about. Government officials, religious bodies, community leaders, our chiefs, our imams, our pastors, even our parents. So it starts from the home front, adequate parenting. Let our people know that it's not cool to be a drug addict. We've seen high number of psychiatric cases on the rise due to drug abuse. Mental health issue is an issue that has been overlooked over the years, but recently people are beginning to look into the hazards of consequences of mental health in our society. Most youths who get involved in drug abuse due to peer group pressure. These days and age, if you go to most psychiatric homes, you see a high percentage of young adults and even elderly people having rushed to mental institution for emergency treatment, and taking a history and physical examination of this patient, you discover that some of them is due to drug abuse. Some are patients who have become very used to these facilities. They treat them, they advise them, they say go back and take these drugs. So we need a holistic approach to address this issue. Law enforcement must be there, our parents, our pastors, our imams. The health hazard is very, very broad, from mental health, liver disease, organ failure, so many aspects. So I urge everyone to come together, work with government. Government cannot do everything. What we can only do is to discourage our people from this ugly practice.
The use of hard drugs is becoming rampant in our society day by day. When we were growing up, you can hardly see people smoking it in public. They hide to smoke. Hard drugs are substances that are being used by individuals to elevate their mood or to feel unusually happy in a way that is not their usual self. And in many instances, you see these individuals, after using these drugs, they feel high, or some lose sense of reality. They are no longer in touch with their realities, and they start doing things that they normally will not do. I know I'm speaking to the general public, so sometimes I try as much as I can to be simple, to speak in plain languages. Like some people will say, my Peking behavior don't change. We shall say it is smoke. I was told of a young man who had worked hard, built a house in Lekki, built a house in Ughelli, had a car, a Venza that was, and then some people introduced him to the use of hard drugs. And by the time they brought him to treatment, he had sold his house in Lekki. His house in Ughelli, he sold a whole complete house for 3 million and sold his Venza for just 500,000 naira. Or another person we were dealing with, after smoking, he felt that something was cutting him sharp in the heart and that somebody was attacking him. And so because of that, he went, took whatever he could, a machete, and attacked somebody because he felt they were attacking him. Psychological illnesses in several ways could arise. Some will start hearing voices and they will respond to them. Some will just run away from the house into the streets. Some will no longer take care of themselves. To bathe, to comb their hair, or to even eat becomes a challenge. Day by day, society is being ravaged by these hard drugs.
It always starts with a little sip, a little puff, a little injection of these dangerous substances into one's system before addiction and total collapse sets in. Here are some other impacts of drug addiction in a user's life. Isolation. Addiction quickly becomes a lifestyle. An addicted person dedicates more and more of their attention to getting drugs, finding ways to use and concealing their use from others. All of these behaviors separate us from anyone not participant in our addiction, enabling each to at least get into denial or willing to look the other way.
The hard drugs that are very common of abuse in our environment include the stimulants. The stimulants are the marijuana, the cocaine, the amphetamines. They have their trade name, their street name, and the commonest one of these stimulants is the marijuana, that is also referred to as the cannabis. The colos is just a form of cannabis that has other substances blended in it. Not only that, they can also blend animal bones or human bones because of the fact that those substances contain high level of sulfur, which has this intoxicating effect to the brain. Apart from the stimulants, there are still other forms of drug abuse in our environment, which also refers to as the hard drug. For example, the opioid, which include the tramadol, the heroin, the morphine, the oxycodone, and the like. When they ingest these drugs, there's a high propensity for them to go back to still ingest more of these drugs. That is what refers to as the addiction. A society where there is drug abuse, there is bound to be high level of crime rate. There is bound to be high level of prostitution and other sort of social devices.
A lot of people doing drugs today started drugs from just peer pressure. Just, take a drag, take a sip, or you visit a friend and they gave you food to eat. And after eating the food, you slept for hours. And after that, you realize that it felt good. And then you decided to go a second time. It felt good again. You went a second time. In drug abuse, you may discover that the first 2-3 times you take it, you are able to deal with, you're able to comport yourself. But then your border limit begin to shift. So you go to 2 drugs, 3 drugs, 4 times a day, 5 times a day, and now you can't even do without it. Your dopamine level is very high without anything even happening. And you see yourself smiling, you see yourself happy, you see yourself sleepy, you see yourself resting when you should be working. That's another thing we need to talk about. So what that does is that it reduces your work ethic, your work time, your pressure to press, your pressure to pursue life, your pressure to do more for yourself. You start to think that everything is okay, is well. Before you know it, you are losing track. Before you know it, time is going. So if you know that you have become a victim of drug abuse, you see the word victim, that means that you get to a point you can no longer stop. That drug you were dragging starts dragging you. That bottle you were lifting starts lifting you. You realize that you can't do without it, you can't think without it, you can't drive without it, you can't even feel good. You start feeling suicidal anytime you don't have it on you. You feeling depressed. So at that point, the vice have you now. You are no longer a big boy. It is the drug that is not a big boy. You're no longer a sharp man. It is that thing you are addicted to that is now the sharp man. So if you are in that position, you must submit yourself for rehabilitation.
Damaged relationship. Damaged relationship with family, friends, and romantic partners can be challenging even in the best of times. And when we are completely sober, introducing drugs and alcohol into the equation can only make things worse. We are more apt to fight and argue when we are irritable and not feeling right. The obligation of our senses can make us less emphatic and aware of the needs of others. The choices we make while using and the lies we may tell can also cause a deep psychic wounds to the people we love. One of the greatest gifts of recovery is that we get an opportunity to repair this damage. There are no guarantees, but recovery is about hope, and some miraculous things are bound to happen if you stick to it with determination. Financial distress. Let's face it, a drug habit can get expensive real fast. If alcohol is a substance of choice, it's easy to run up a hefty bar tab quickly. Illegal drugs come with a built-in black market tax associated with any illicit goods. On top of that, drinking and using tends to lower our inhibition. Impulse purchase and financial irresponsibility are common before someone receives the substance abuse help they need.
The effects of the proliferation of hard drug in Nigeria is becoming an endemic issue. Right now, it cuts across all age and all stratas of life, and the government must take deliberate steps to ensure that the issue is dealt with. And the government must also collaborate with agencies of government that are saddled with responsibility. They must engage the youth with a view to creating awareness for our young ones in secondary schools. We start from there so that they can get the awareness of the danger of having to abuse hard drugs. For our parents and guardians, we have to take a closer look on what our children do. Look at behavioral and attitudinal change on the part of the children. Don't think that they are already grown-ups and that they should be left to themselves. Parents must look at what their children are involving in, who they are moving with, and the kind of company they keep.
As it is today, we drive through some areas in Benin City, like Iyama, Country Home. You see some young boys looking very tattered. They are beckoning on you, gesticulating, sir. When you stop, you hear them, sir, Colos Deo, Colorado, Canada loud. This thing has caused harm in the society. So many persons have gone mad. Like there's a case of a man, a bus driver who came back from work sometime ago in Benin City, just on the 24th of December, precisely. He went to his wife for food. The wife, they said the food was not ready. And this man went out. They didn't know that he had taken substance. He went out and picked up his 4-year-old son and he said to hit the wall like 4 times, and the boy died. That video trended on the internet. So sometimes when you see them, they say that their tongue is blue or it has another color. It has caused untold damage to even people, innocent people that don't even consume it. Because just imagine a situation whereby you enter a bus and you don't know that this bus driver is already intoxicated with this substance, and you enter the bus driver is driving recklessly. And those acts have led to these vehicles involved in accidents, innocent people dying. It has also happened to Keke as well. is a parent should advise their children on the kind of relationship, the kind of company they keep. Because most people that are into these acts are largely influenced by peer pressure. Most of them got into this. Even ladies are not left out in this. So many ladies are taking drugs today because of their boyfriends, because their boyfriends introduced them into it.
It's something that is very, very terrible, to the extent that when you see their lives and what is operating in them today, it shows a very big and a great signs of danger, not only to their lives, not only to their family, also to the society and to the nation at large. And it's something that everybody need to rise up to, because it's a very great challenge. Every family need to start. They need to rise up, because we need to start from families. That is why every family need to rise up to the challenge, because the negative effect will still come back to the family and to this individual. So I want to say this, that everybody need to rise up to make sure that such challenges are being handled, because the youth of these days are going into drug abuse. In fact, in the next future, the negative effect will be so much. That is why we need to rise up to it and to correct whatever that is coming up now, especially the success through which those drugs are being achieved or acquired. Everybody need to cut it off.
Money trouble leads to stress and anxiety, combined with relentless desire to get high and stay high. It's a formula for more bad decision and risk-taking. Money trouble is almost always among the effects of drug abuse that people experience when addiction takes hold. Health problems. Alcohol is hard on vital organs, especially the liver and stomach. Stimulants like methamphetamine and cocaine can cause permanent heart damage and stroke. Opioids include heroin, and prescription opioids create long-term imbalance in neurons and hormones and damage the brain vital white matter. There is simply no way to abuse drugs for long without physical consequences. No number of vitamins or amount of health eating or exercise will offset it. Depression and anxiety. Using drugs or alcohol frequently brings about depression and anxiety. There are two main reasons for this. First, the biochemical effects of drug abuse themselves often trigger depression and anxiety, either when using the drug or as its effect begin to subside and withdrawal sets in. Secondly, the choices that drug abuse entails also lead to depression and anxiety. No one can live a dishonest, duplicitous life for long without becoming depressed and fearful. We aren't built to live that way. Provoking existing mental health condition. Many people are aware that depression and anxiety are among the effects of drug abuse, but do you know that using drug also frequently triggers existing mental health disorders? Someone with a predisposition of psychotic episode may have never experienced one until they begin abusing drugs. If you have a mental health issue diagnosed or otherwise, drug abuse can only worsen the symptoms. A criminal record. Buying and using drugs greatly increases your odds of ending up with a permanent criminal record. Ask anyone with a history of felonies and they will tell you that it has a profound effect on your future. If you are lucky enough to get sober with a felony criminal record, you may still end up paying the price for using drugs for the rest of your life. There's always a way forward regardless of the consequences we face in addiction. As long as you are alive, there is hope. Remember that every day that we continue on the path of addiction will risk our present and our future.
That drug has already destroyed so many future leaders of tomorrow. We have to stop it. So many lives have been destroyed. So many children are being destroyed today. They are, behaving anyhow. How can you be using your hand to buy something that will destroy your life? Those who are importing it, they should be arrested. Anybody caught with it should be dealt with. Enough is enough. Nigeria, Edo State, is not a depot for menace. Our future must be secured. As a mother, as a stakeholder in the town, I plead with the governor of the state, our good governor, to please help us look deeply into this matter. It has to stop. And I know God will give the government the wisdom on what to do and how to do it to stop it in this nation and especially in Edo State in order to secure our future. Our children that we labor upon, see them. Many are behaving like mad people. They dress anyhow after taking it. They don't even know what is happening. They behave anyhow. These are people we should be proud of. That when our own generation leaves, we have a good generation. Then whom are we going to leave this country for? By the time God calls us, we need to do something. Please, if we want this country to be good, we want the future of this country to be good, parents, go back and start to take good care of your children.
Even under 18, 15, 16, 13 years, takes hard substance like colos, crack, ice, hard drugs. And these are prohibited drugs. How did it get to their hands? Are they not seeing these persons who deals on those drugs? The effect and the damages these drugs do to our society. You hardly see any crime that is not traceable to drugs, because someone with his or her right sense cannot carry arms to kill a fellow human being without being induced or under the influence of these drugs. Starting from confraternity to armed robbers and kidnappers. All they do drugs. How do they access the drugs? There are dealers everywhere. Every year, the situation gets worse, and these persons who are made to address this issue, they collect money for job not be done.
As a restaurateur, somebody in the hospitality business, we were shocked. We are so shocked to see the rate which young people are, demanding for drugs. I give a typical example, an experience, I think a very sad experience we had in our office. A lady came into the cake shop and asked that she wants to bake a cake. And we said, okay, fine. Then she called me to a corner and said, excuse me, sir, please. She will want something special in the cake. I said, of course, we'll give you anything you want. So she looked at me. I looked at her. I didn't know what she was talking about. And she actually said she wants Indian hem in the cake. I said, what do you mean? I said, I beg your pardon? She said, yes. They want Indian hem to be baked with the cake. I said, really? I said, well, we don't do that here. She said, no, why should we not do that here? Every other person does it. I said, what do you mean by everybody? I said, no, don't say that. Every other person, not everybody. And yes, then she mentioned 1 or 2 cake shops that does it. And I said, oh my God. I said, well, so you can imagine the level it has gone into where even business owners are promoting these things. If you go to town, some of the restaurants, some of the places of interest, some of the, places are promoting use of drugs, hard drugs. You see young men hanging around the area, giving you all kinds of signs. So it's a serious issue. It's a wake-up call for the government, for civil societies, places of worship to look critically into this matter. Our young generation Gen Z and the likes are, if they don't have something to aspire to, they become wasted. And we at the middle age, we are not helping them because sometimes we're even promoting it. And it's a very sad situation because trust me, you can't find leadership in a drug-infested society.
Lost dreams. Lost dreams are possibly the most tragic and often overlooked the effect of drug abuse. If you are around other people who use drugs, you know all about it. How many of those people talk about their big dreams and ambition, about what they are going to do one day? How many of them ever do any of it? Drug abuse steals our dreams and stifles our potential. It snuffs out our candlelight. That may sound like a systematic cliche, but anyone who has spent any time in addiction will know it rings true if they are capable of being honest with themselves. You don't have to let drugs steal any more from you. Death. Finally, there is the grim reality of death. Whatever we like it or not, drug abuse increases our chances of dying, whether it's the risk of fatal overdose, a car accident, or being shot and killed trying to score. Using drugs increases the risk of imminent death. There is no sense in trying to sugarcoat it. Buying and using drugs nearly always means taking unnecessary risk. It also means being around other people who take risk. No matter how safe and sensible you think you are in your drug use, you can't control what others do around you. You may just get caught in the crossfire figuratively or literally. As you are going for that party or hanging out with a group of friends, it could be a social gathering. No matter the situation, do not be tempted to be introduced into taking or ingesting any drug substance. You don't need to prove your manliness or womanhood to anyone by taking hard drugs. Remember, it always starts with a sip, a sniff, a little smoke, just a little puff. Before you know it, you'll be neck deep into drug addiction. It takes just one try, and you might just get hooked for life. Families have been broken, relationships shattered, money, dreams, visions, and goals destroyed, all because of hard drugs. Do not fall victim because of peer or societal pressure. Wives, do not nag your husband into drug addiction. Husband, do not oppress your wife into drug addiction. Kids, no matter the pressure, do not give in to drug addiction. For the youths and adults, no matter the situation, taking hard drug does not make the pains go away. Seek help and counsel to help you navigate hard and trying times. People that relied on drugs are wishing that they had not fallen into that trap. The country is difficult already. Adding hard drugs to it will be suicidal. If you are neck deep into drug occasioned by addiction, do not be too proud or too shy to ask for help before it's too late. Wilson Omasho reporting.